Good afternoon. Get the microphones on, please. Great. Good afternoon. Welcome to the regular meeting of the Board of Regents of Del Mar College. We're convening at 1 p.m. on Tuesday, December 12th, in the Center for Economic Development. We have a quorum, so I'm calling the meeting to order, and we will begin, please, with a moment of silence. Thank you. Join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please join in reading and sharing together the mission statement of Del Mar College. Del Mar College provides access to quality education, workforce preparation, and lifelong learning for student and community success. As a reminder, Del Mar College is streaming the live audio and video from the official Board of Regents meeting on the college's website in real time, with the exceptions of any portions of the meeting considered as closed session by statute. And I also encourage you to be sure that your cell phones are on vibrate or turned off during the meeting. We will begin with our staff reports, and we'll start with Dr. Lewis and Dr. Silva.
Still no? There we go. Okay. Just have to threaten it enough. We are so pleased to be able to tell you a little bit about what we're gathering information-wise with our Tableau dashboard. I know that this is something that the board has been very interested in, seeing a lot of data put together very quickly. So I want to introduce Sushil. Where are you up here? This is Sushil Palamoni, our Director of Institutional Research, and he's going to be driving the Tableau dashboard. Dr. Silva and I will be talking about some of the more important parts that we've pulled out for you.
Good afternoon, everybody. We'll be giving you a short presentation on Tableau dashboards. To begin with, Tableau, as you might know, is widely used in the industry. It's one of the leading visual analytics tools, and over the past 1 or 2 years, higher education institutions have started using it. In Texas, College Station, UT Austin, and there are some other universities use it. And we've been among the first in community colleges to start using Tableau, thanks to Lenora and August for always supporting our technology needs. To begin with, Tableau lets us create interactive dashboards. It helps users visually understand data, see and understand data in the form of trends and patterns. It lets us connect to several data sources, not just one data source, multiple data sources. And the most powerful use of Tableau is that as you start using and looking at the dashboards, you'll see that as users, it empowers you to explore and analyze data and see, trends and patterns by using the filters and drill down features that Tableau offers. For this presentation, we'll be showing you about 8 to 10 dashboards. The data sources that we've used are certified CBM files, data from colleague. The analysis is done in SQL, SPSS, MS Access, and Excel. And finally, once analysis is done, Tableau is used to visually represent the data in the form of trends, patterns, and that you'll see in a short while.
Up just a tad.
Sure. The four key areas that we are going to talk today are student enrollment, student profile, student demographics, that is, degrees and certificates, and student course success in terms of pass rates and the courses that they're taking. So Tableau basically lets users post the data, the dashboards on two particular sites. One is called the Tableau Public, where we have most of our dashboards, and then it also lets us post them on a in-house Tableau server that we are currently have one that in the process of configuring, but we will be also showing you one advanced level dashboard on the Tableau server. But on the public site, under student enrollment trends, we have 4 dashboards covering annual unduplicated headcounts, enrollment by semester and quarter, fall student profile, the student demographics basically, and then comparing our numbers to state averages, comparing our numbers to large colleges in particular. For student award trends, we have historical degrees and certificates dashboard, followed by awards by academic year and program. And then again, we have compared that to the state averages of large colleges in terms of degrees and certificates that are being awarded at other large colleges. Then we also have 2 dashboards on dual credit enrollment trends, fall and spring enrollment trends for dual credit students. And then again, we have one neat dashboard that shows you the student demographics of specifically to dual credit students regarding which schools they're coming from and what are the demographics in particular. And as I mentioned, we will also be showing you one advanced level dashboard on student course pass rates, where you can drill down to student level data using the filters and other options that the Tableau provides. I'm going to have to be at the computer while Dr. Silva and Dr. Lewis talk because the dashboards need to be interactively driven, and I'll be working on the dashboards from the computer.
Thank you, Sushil. While he's making his way over there, I'll begin talking about the first key metrics that we're going to show you today, and that's enrollment trends. Of course, enrollment trends is important for everybody internally and externally. And the first one we're showing you here, we're showing you, there you go. That is our annual unduplicated head count. Again, unduplicated means that we have our individual head counts for the academic years. This one graph shows you 14 years of data and shows our 2016, 2017. We had 16,000 individual students on our credit side and 9,673 students on our CE side. So there's one way to look at it, and the next graph, so we can get to the next graph, breaks it down a little bit, and next graph talks about credit and continuing ed enrollment data per quarters, which is how CE is reported, and per credit, as you know, that how the fall is recorded on there.
Dr. Silva,
Yes.
can you go back to that green slide again? I
Yes,
want to
sir.
make a point here. Natalie and I were talking about this the other day. It's important. Look at the blue line and the orange line.
Mm-hmm.
And this has been very purposeful. Why we've given so much effort towards our continuing education, obviously for the certificates and all those, you know, for expanding the curriculum, certainly. But look at the trends. This is what we've been saying. One counters the other. Not exactly, but basically. Wherever there's a peak on the orange, there's a valley on the blue. A peak on the blue, a valley on the orange. It corresponds so that at every given point in the economy, no matter what the economy does, we have a peak. We have enrollment trending towards the positive. That was the big push in the creation of that division that Lenora took several years ago, and has just, it has continued to grow and have a dramatic impact on our preparation of our workforce. But keep that in mind. That's what we said would happen, and that's exactly the way it works. And that graph demonstrates that.
That related to a question I had. I wonder if there's a way to overlay, if we could find the right economic data, particularly for our local area, because it's really relevant to what's happening in the coastal bend, not in Texas overall, that you could overlay on this and you could see, oh, look, here's when, maybe it's employment figures, maybe it's some sort of economic data. It should correlate to what Dr. Escamilla just said.
Overlay.
Like employment,
Yeah.
yes.
And then those are very important comments, because most schools traditionally report only the credit side, and that only tells you half the story. Because CE is also very important to us, and they're our learners, and they're generate revenue for us as well. So very, very good, good point. The next slide talks about enrollment trends for the last 7 years, I believe. And it breaks down the CE by the quarters and the fall semester by the quarters. And just what you're looking at right now is the SHU's doing. You could actually, on the right hand, select the type. Let's say you just want to look at the CE numbers. You could click that box, and you could go by quarters. So SHU, if you would, let's look at all types for right now. So I could just do a general overview. Can you do all types, SHU? So that just gives you an overview of what we've done for the last, about 7 years. And again, it gives you a breakdown by quarters and by semesters on CE and the credit sides respectively. And then the graph underneath shows the upward trend of that. And one thing I wanted to add here, because enrollment's always a concern, can you go ahead and click? We got latest numbers. We're talking about our certified numbers for the fall, which I know is a concern all the time. Last time I stood before you and gave you an enrollment report, reported that we were 4% down, but that we were making a big push for the 6 and 8 week classes. And if you look at that now, those numbers have been certified, and we actually, our numbers for, which includes now our flex classes, is 11,833, which now just represent, and I don't want to use just the word just, but it represented a 1% decrease in enrollment. So we made some great headways in the second 8 weeks, and I really want to thank the academic deans and student service deans for working so hard and picking up that number.
Thanks to all that made that effort, because we were looking at the 4% down, not knowing what we were going to go into spring. We end up with 1%, and that is a very powerful statement of the cooperation of all at the college who are offering extended opportunities for our students.
Absolutely. So we do appreciate the flexibility from all the deans. So thank you very much. The next slide would be the student profile. This is I like these kind of slides because there's just so much to look at. But that kind of gives you indication regarding our, and this is for fall 2017, of declared majors. And so it shows you the breakdown of men and women. And with this program, so if you could click just on the women, please. If you wanted to just look at women, you could click on women, and it gives you data regarding only our female students. So now you can see women, and you can see the breakdown in age and of gender of just the women. So this is just one of the robust parts of this dashboard. If you go ahead and unclick that. So if you look at this, you see, of course, we are majority majority females with our their part-time students, and most of our students are between the ages of 20 to 24. And that bubble graph there, you'll see a majority of our students are Hispanic, and they're taking between 7 to 9 hours there. So a traditional Del Mar College student is actually a female Hispanic, part-time, ages 20 to 24, and taking about 7 to 9 hours. So that is what a traditional student would look like. And then our next one, I'm sorry.
Are we still listed as a?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And the enrollment trends that Sushil talked about is the way that we can compare ourselves to our colleague schools. And again, I think we could overlay that. We don't have that right now, but you will see, there we go. Now, is blue being Del Mar College, and the bronze or gold is our colleague schools. And colleague schools, as classified by our coordinating board, are schools like Amarillo, Blinn, Laredo, South Plains, Tyler Junior College. So as you can see, we have been going up and down, but we're trending up right now as compared to our colleague schools.
So Dr. Silva's talking about what it takes to bring them in. I'm going to talk about what it takes to get them graduated and awarded. So the next graphic that you're seeing here are the annual degrees and certificates. You can see that the blue there are the degrees, the gold is certificate at the bottom. The nice thing about this is that you see it is going up and up and up. And even if you look back on the far left-hand side and do an imaginary line going up, it's still going up. You'll remember at graduation in the spring, I said that we made history because we awarded the most degrees in Del Mar College's history, and we did. Those are certified numbers. It was an exciting time to be there, an exciting time to be part of that. And so while some of our other colleges in Texas are struggling a little bit in getting students completed, we're doing a really good job in making sure that students are getting the awards that they need when they come in. This is a very busy graphic, but I want to draw your attention to several things. On here, the gold, or brown, sort of gold, represents the arts and sciences. The green is health sciences and professional education, and the red is business, industrial, and public safety. So you can see the awards. The top, you see the actual numbers as I don't know what the chiming means. Is my time up? Am I being played off by the orchestra? Okay. Okay. So at the top graphic, if you want to see the actual hard numbers, there's everything for you right there, and the types of degrees given in those different areas. If you want to see a bar graph and the awards by division, right, obviously, who gives the most Associate of Arts degrees? The Arts and Sciences Division, okay? Makes sense. And then at the bottom, the award by year and division. So there's a variety of ways that you can look at this data and disaggregate it, pull it apart, look at the different things. You can look just by programs. So if we want to see occupational therapy, then all we do is go over and we check occupational therapy, and we see the data for occupational therapy, okay? So you can do it across every program, or you can break it down by individual program levels. It's a tremendous tool to be able to get in there and see how you're doing. Rito talked a little bit about how we were doing versus how our competitors and the very large colleges in that category. And here you can see again that Del Mar College is the blue line, the large colleges, the brown line there. You can see we're above the other large colleges' average right now. We've been above them for a while. We had a little bit of a dip there around 2012, 2013, and of course that was Eagle Ford Shell, the bottom kind of falling out of that a little bit. Okay. And Rita's going to talk about dual credit.
The last two graphs we're going to show you just going to give you a snapshot of dual credit. And what you'll see in that blue line is the number of dual credits for fall 2017. You see we had 2,189 students for the fall. And in the spring, we had 2,229 dual credit students. The graph underneath will show you that actually represents about 19.07% of our student body for the fall, and 19.9% for 2017. In comparison, the state average of dual credit to your student body is 19.5. So we're just right at the state average for the amount of dual credit students in our student body. And our next graph actually gives you a profile of what our dual credit students look like. So very similar to what I showed you before for our fall 2017 students. You can manipulate that data up there as you wish. So if you will, can you go to that bubble on the bottom? The bottom represents the schools that come to us for dual credit. So you'll see the biggest bubble going to Gregory Portland. And when you click on it, you'll see that Gregory Portland has 277 students there. And if you can go ahead and toggle back out of there, so if you will. And if you're like me, I would like to look at the little bubbles. So you can look at one of the little bubbles. Yeah, that one, top of that one right there. That's Banquete ISD. Has 3 students that are being brought to us for dual credit. So you could look at that bubble and click on it. It'll tell you how many students are coming from each one of those school districts.
So,
Hang on there just
Yeah, just question related, that's great information. It's not just colorful, it tells you something, right? There are a couple of interesting relationships there, like why our non-CCISD would have, is not really, it's more represented for Gregory Portland than it is some of the other schools.
Because the CCISD schools are broken down by individual high schools.
Okay.
But even then, overall, percentage-wise, CC, if you look at it as a school district,
Yes.
we're still not where we want to be overall. There's still, let's look at it as positive, there's still much opportunity to be had, and that's what we're working towards.
And then my question is, I would assume that from a management standpoint, there are strategic plans or tactical plans behind these numbers of what you're doing to improve in the areas that need to be improved.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Bob Montes is helping us lead that charge,
Yes.
and along with the enrollment team and our academic representatives and the faculty and so forth, we're trying to come up with a plan that bolsters that number. Dual credit is the single greatest equalizer for first-generation students, I believe. And it is proven now with thousands and thousands of students that we've pushed through the process. They're coming back and they're teaching and they're living in the community. They're graduating from college and doing all kinds of wonderful things. It's a great opportunity we can celebrate.
So, I'm sorry, go
I was
ahead.
going to say, from a CST standpoint, W.B. Ray and I think Carroll High School is listed on here. Mary Carroll, I think, is listed, maybe not. But those two have really strong advanced placement programs. And so AP may be their quote-unquote early college offering as opposed to dual credit, because AP is in with the baccalaureate program, IB program at W.B. Ray. So it probably depends on that's the individual high schools, where their emphasis is, and, yeah.
Yes, and we continue to push to compete against those offerings and put everything on the table for the students, I think is the best approach overall. And I'll just say, I know those are preferences. You've got a lot invested in the IB program at Ray. You've got a lot invested in the AP at Carroll. We understand all that. At the end of the day, we see the students that are graduating on that back end. We're in touch with the universities. We're out there at the coordinating board and hearing from our peers across the state. Pound for pound, I don't believe, and I know many of our colleagues across the state and country believe this, that there's not a better offering out there than dual credit and that bona fide college credential when they're done from high school. But we respect all programs out there for sure.
So in the background, what Sushil has been doing is clicking on the individual bubbles at the bottom, and when you do that, it repopulates everything else for that particular location. So when he goes to Calallen High School, for example, then everything else changes, and that's only the data for Calallen High School. So you can see the demographic breakdown, you can see the number of hours, the age range, everything. It's a really robust tool, and it's very, very helpful when you're trying to get data very quickly about a particular location.
Very accessible on our website. Anybody can access it and play around with it, generate situations. If it generates questions, bring your questions to us. We're glad to answer.
These are just in-district schools?
No, this is in-district and out-of-district as well. Robstown, can you get that back? Look into one of the bubbles. Now you have to, okay, you can physically go and check Robstown, and it will populate Robstown. The bubbles are not always have the names on them, but you kind of almost have to click on them, and it's generated Robstown there. And I can't read the numbers. What's that, about 35 students in Robstown? Is that what I'm
Yes.
reading, Sushil?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, can't believe I just got glasses.
Robstown's another school district that's trying a different option. They're working with the University of Texas now to do something that's in between AP and dual credit. It's a whole new program and an effort from the UT system. And so we encourage them to continue that, find what's best for them and just allow us to offer as well.
Sure, and I know we probably can't find it now, but I know if you look at Del Mar College versus our colleagues in dual credit and the trends, when we were playing around with this yesterday and the day before, Del Mar College is so much higher than our colleagues regarding how much dual credit we've done. And a lot of that started with Dean Dominguez and it's now with Bob Montes and all the help that they get from the academic dean. So they're doing a great job with that. Any questions regarding Tableau? Absolutely.
Okay, so this is probably one of my favorite graphics because it shows the grade distribution overall. The green, this is your Christmas tree present here. This is your Christmas graph, the green and the red. So the green represents grades that are an A, a B, a C, or a P for passing. And in some areas, for example, in the nurse practicum, they don't get a letter grade, they get a pass or a fail in that. And then the red are D, F, and I've got to put my glasses on to be able to see this, R, which means repeat, or a W, which means withdrawn. So you can see by the department the different percentages, but then you can also drill down to very specific levels. And Sushil's just going to pick some of those for me. So if you want to see how does cosmetology do in comparison to culinary arts. Okay, and we can put both of those together next to each other. Okay. So you can do comparisons against one another. You can do comparisons in divisions. You can do the different grade distributions, that sort of thing. Now, this is the overall. Toward the bottom, you can see the total grades by department. Of course, we love the bubble graph. Again, if you want to bring that up, which it looks very much like a colorblind test when you go to the eye doctor, right? Do you see the blue 57 in there? If you don't, talk to me afterwards. But it, you know, at some point it gets a little bit ridiculous, but it gives you some good ideas about, at a glance, who's doing okay, where, you know, where are things that we need to be kind of, oh, wow, what does that mean? Let's dig a little bit deeper into that. And then...
If I may interject, one of the times, you know, we've used this is trying to help out DevEd students, especially in math. So if you wanted to look at how DevEd students, maths in particular, are withdrawing in fall 16 semester, so with 3 clicks, I can show you who those students are. So I just need to select fall of 16, and then I just say, yes, I want to look at the DevEd students. So it gives me visually what those grades, I mean, number of students by DevEd courses. And if I wanted to look at, get the list for all the students who withdrew from math, so when I roll over it, it gives me an option to look at the underlying data. So with just 2 clicks, I was able to pull out all the students who withdrew from math. And we've provided this list to the chairs and retention services to help outreach to those students and provide help like directing them to tutoring services and all those options.
That's what I want to hear.
Yes.
It's great to look at all the pretty graphs and stuff. Good news is there's lots of data. Bad news is there's lots of data. What are we doing with it? I think
Right.
from a board level perspective, what's nice to know is that we're able to drill down, because it's ultimately about student success, and how are you using this?
Right. The trend data is tremendous for us because we're not going to make wholesale decisions about anything based on one semester's worth. But if we start seeing, hey, really exciting things are happening over there and that we're having more and more students pass in that area, what changes have been made that might affect that? Conversely, ooh, you know, they used to be doing really well and now we're starting to see it trend down a little bit. So what's happening with that? It gives us great places to start asking questions.
Dr. Escamilla, what would be, I think, helpful on this going forward? We've talked before about student success and goals, and we have a college-wide strategic plan, but as we set goals from year to year, and I think it would be helpful for the board to know more about, okay, as we go forward this next year, here's what the college's management team is focused on based upon data. Here's what the data showed us, some sort of executive summary. Here's what we're focusing on this next year. And then at the end of that year, we say, how do we do towards that? Not to micromanage the tactics, to be here reports on what's working and what still needs to work.
Sure.
That to me is a governance function.
Sure. Well, drill down strategies. You have those questions, those are the things we want to answer. We're going to be asking ourselves questions as to why, you know, there's certain failure rates that are maybe not what we expected and the like. And so we can do this first presentation is kind of the overview, kind of a little deeper dive than we've taken with Tableau. But certainly, we'll be venturing out there and generating those types of questions and bringing those strategies forward in another report, so duly noted.
Questions for the duo doc standing up at the microphone?
Is there a way, so we have a lot of part-time students, and part-time students are progressing based on their life circumstances, whether it's financial resources, work, conflicts, family conflicts, whatever the case may be. How do you determine, or is there a way that this can help us determine if part-time students are progressing at a pace that's of their choosing, and are they going to finish? And I don't really know how to frame that question, but a traditional student is taking 12 to 15 hours a semester should graduate in 2 years. But these part-time students, again, 7 to 10 hours are going to take twice that long.
Sure.
How do you determine if they're progressing at a pace they should be?
Well, another tool that we'll be coming back and talking to you about, you already heard, is Civitas.
Okay.
And Civitas, it's different. The difference between Civitas and what you're seeing now is that Civitas is it's active. It is by the semester, and it can give us predictive analytics. And we have introduced Civitas in a graduation component, and we've seen some good gains right now. I know right now Dean Sanders in our area and the retention folks are looking at Civitas, helping them in some other programs. And of course, part-time is the ones we're looking at as well. Part-time is difficult because we understand our students, they have other obligations that makes it difficult for them to come to school. But those that we can try to help, we want to try to reach out to them.
This tells us that a great majority of our students are part-time. So again, that traditional 2-year mindset that you're going to finish your community college career in 2 years does not play for our students at all. Yeah.
It's a number that's closer to 5 and 6 years.
Right.
And that is an overarching theme that we're extrapolating from our data. We've seen that we're across the state, because of that commuter type nature of our students, it's prolonging that completion. So we're looking at everything from scheduling to creating the spaces, the things we're talking about with our bond program, to create the spaces and to enable the students to, quote, stay here longer, like we were talking about earlier. It's everything in between. It's from the spaces created to the schedules and the course offerings and the support services that way. We've listened to the students, and but that is probably the single biggest opportunity for us to change, is time to completion. A lot of folks as we look at our peers, I've looked at data across the state that shows the colleges with housing options have shorter completion periods. Why? Because they stay there, they complete more, they take more. And I know that from having been at one of those institutions, and we watch them closely. There is a big difference in the way our students consume the education here, and how we affect that that's our challenge right now. That's one of probably our biggest challenge.
Yeah.
Sure.
And,
There's
in
another
terms
question.
of data, we are actually in the process of building that analysis to see how our FDIC students are coming in who are part-time, full-time, how are their persistence rates, and how long do they take to graduate. That's something we'll probably have that for you probably at sometime early spring.
We know it's taken 5 and 6 years on average. And that's not, it's something, it's what is, okay, it's what's been. How do we shorten that period? That's what we've got to go after.
Well, but I'm not saying shortening it, obviously, because there's a financial implication for us and for the student of prolonging their completion. But if the student is progressing at the pace that they choose and that is best for them, that is according to their personal degree plan, that as long as they're progressing, I'm okay. If they can only take 6 hours a semester, but they're taking 6 hours every semester and they're progressing at their pace, I'm okay with that. It's the students that are popping in and out and that don't have a plan, or that are failing too many classes and those kinds of things.
Pathways.
Right,
Pathways is
pathways.
the big inoculation for that. And that's where the state's moving towards, because in some ways, it's giving students less and less freedom, and that kind of hurts my feelings, to be honest with you. But in some ways, it's giving the structure to those students who have the least amount of that have too many choices. And so getting them into the Pathways Project is something that we're very much a part of at the state level. We believe will be increasingly a part of legislation coming in coming years, and that is the single biggest mechanism for that. Dr. Lewis, do you care, would you?
Well, it is a very exciting initiative that we're working on right now. We've got a great steering committee. We've been working on this for almost a year now, and trying to make it make sense for students. So the ones who do know what they want when they hit the door, we can say, here are the classes you need to take in this sequence. For the ones who really don't have any idea, we can help them get to the right pathway for them so that they know, I really want to do something with computers. Okay, well, what does that mean? Does that mean that you want to fix them? Does that mean you want to program them? What does that mean? You want to use them to fly airplanes? What is it that you want to do with computers? So helping them figure out, it's like the GPS in your system. Most of us don't want to just drive around and hope that we fall across our destination by accident. We plug in where we want to go, or at least a general idea, restaurants near me, right? And then something comes up and you say, oh, that looks interesting, I'll do that. So it's a GPS for students.
The other question that the data brings up, if 19% of our students that are dual credit, that obviously is a large majority of those who are not going here full-time. So if you were to pull out the dual credit students from that student profile, what does our under 18, what does our over 18-year-old student profile look like? So that would be different, because again, 20% of our numbers, 19% of our numbers are dual credit students, which implies that they're taking less than a full-time load of college credit. Collegiate high school would be different. I guess I know there's all kinds of ways that you can slice and dice this. So, excuse me, the last question or last comment is around dual credit. How many of those dual credit students are completing their either 2-year or 4-year degree with us or someone else? And that's that combined data question that we've had with coordinating board, and how do we track high school graduates post-secondary completion. But I don't expect an answer today, but that's another place that the data takes us. Are we doing our job in helping those students complete college wherever they end up going?
So we have, I love this subject. It is the number one policy issue for the Texas Association of Community Colleges at the next legislative session. Therefore, the primary policy issue for the state, that is dual credit. There are multiple studies going on right now that are tracking students, that are tracking persistence, they're tracking the rigor of courses. There is a big RAND Corporation funded study right now that we're waiting to see the outcomes on. When that information comes out, we will bring that back to show a lot of those sort of criteria and or themes. They're still cooking, and it's going to be a little while yet, but there's 2, maybe 3 out there. I think the University of Texas is doing another one. So we'll watch that very closely. We believe that the preliminary data that has come out so far with these reports are showing are strongly supportive of dual credit and the things that it's doing for the completion of those students' college experience. So we're going to stay tuned. We'll be coming back with that one.
And if I may, at our conference last couple of weeks ago, Senator Benecourt was there, the finances, and he made a very strange comment, which, he made the comment that he felt that they needed to do something with dual credit because so many of the high school students would come back their senior year to take athletics and whatever they needed, and then they were off the rest of the day, and that should be taken away. So that's in the mix as well, and, somebody needs to cover that belief, and so it was said over and over again, and finally I asked him, and he told me, well, I don't have the data. Are they going to school? Are they taking this extra credit with the pathways? They want you to say, okay, as a junior, this is where I'm going.
And Sushil is going to show you there how to access.
To basically access the dashboards, you will be going to our institution research page. That's on your slide, PowerPoint slide number 16. So once you're on that page, you will be clicking a link that says Tableau Public, and that will take you to the Tableau dashboards page. And you have about 15 dashboards over here currently. We have more that you might want to look at related to student demographics prior semesters, and also some enrollment data by zip codes. The server link will be available sometime in spring because that is being configured right now. We have a new software, and that will have student-level dashboards where you can drill down to student and see who those students are, who those students graduated, what programs they graduated in. So you can drill down to a neat student-level data. And the final slide basically gives you an overview as to how most of these dashboards will look like. You will have data table that will have all the data, corresponding charts followed by it. And then you'll have filters on the right side. Most of these are set up so that each element drives the others. Like we showed you the bubble chart where you click on the bubble, it'll automatically populate everything else, all the data corresponding to that. So it's very interactive, and like I said, Tableau empowers users to actually see and analyze your own data and see it in a different way that you want it to. And we will be updating you again in spring once we have the server ready with the advanced level dashboards.
We can have this link sent back out to you all. I think we sent that to you all a month or two ago, if I'm not mistaken, Regents. It's on the website, but we will have it sent back out to you so that you can save, copy and paste and save, or do whatever you'd like, so that you can search the data in your at your leisure and as you can. And again, we encourage you to explore. Give us more examples of things that you'd like to see, because we'll be glad to come back, maybe in the spring, as Sushil's saying, and on a regular basis to talk about these. We're going to continue to refine a lot of things. I can see where there's a lot of small data and so forth, so we'll work on our presentation, which I think was fine, but it was a little small for visuals even up close, so we'll work on that piece. But it's a very powerful tool, and Sushil, thank you so much for all you do out there.
Sure.
I know you crunch more numbers than I've ever even realized exist, but anyway, it's a powerful tool, and you'll have it at your fingertips.
Any other questions? Great, thank you. Mary McQueen's going to take us over the edge.
So we had a very fun fundraiser in October, Over the Edge. And I think I just want to, yep, it's this one. Okay, I just want to run through this real quick because it's kind of fun. Okay, ready? Now my question is, how do I get down to start it? Yeah, nope, see, that's not going to work.
Our technology over the edge today?
Too dumb to be afraid.
So if it'll work here, maybe, maybe not. Well, that was the most important thing, is just showing you the video. There we go. The idea was to send this out to everybody who participated and all the sponsors, and then also we're meeting with people for next year. And we wanted to get them excited about it because as a new event that is a little out of the box, shall we say, people don't get an idea or visual on it. So this is really important. Obviously, Dr. Mark and Trey went down at the same time. There's Dr. Mark, and are you just going to do that? There we go. It's just real quick. These are a bunch of photographs of the different people that went over the edge. We had a number of trustees. We had Elvis. Elvis went over the edges. He actually works there. Regents, this is Trey McCampbell, and also donors, Bernard Seeger. We had doctors, engineers, and designers that went over the edge, and it was really fun to see how all of these people did their fundraising next. Students, faculty, we had a number of faculty and a number of students that actually did it. In total, we had 21 fundraisers, and I call them fundraisers because every person who went over the edge raised $1,000 minimum for the right to go and rappel down 20 stories. Those 20 people raised $36,000. There's the top people. Just to give you an idea, we decided that to toss the top boss, that would be Dr. Mark, was going to be $10,000. He actually raised $11,900. Is it still working? Oh, the old-fashioned way, okay. So anyway, we raised $92,000. That includes in kind. We netted 45, as you can anticipate. It does take something to bring in these experts to help make sure everyone's safe. So we have a goal. We've got a date. We're looking for 70 repellers next year, a gross of 130, a net of 90. The foundation has decided to do a 3-year licensing, and there's the cost for the event, and so we look forward to seeing even more people go over the edge next year. Okay.
Mary, a couple points. I think we could have had a little more capacity this year because there's a fixed cost to get into this, right?
Yes, there is.
And part of it was the storm, wasn't it? So
A lot
from
of
the
it-
standpoint of what a lot of nonprofits are feeling like, the fact we still had the fundraiser even on top of the storm, are you okay, pleased with where we ended up?
I'm very pleased with where we ended up. We did have, the foundation board did have a meeting about a month before Over the Edge to try to decide if we wanted to go ahead and move forward because everything had stalled after Harvey. The board decided to move ahead, and we redoubled our efforts, and we were very, very pleased. We were basically about half of our original estimates, but it really, one of the things about something that's new and different is you have to try it first and let people see what it is. And I didn't want to lose a year, and the foundation trustees did not want to lose a whole year of this really good event when we know that this annual event will probably start raising $100,000 to $150,000 every year for scholarships. And it's people going out and raising money. They do it online, and they do it through Facebook, and they do it through social media. And so it's an incredible way to reach out to new donors for Del Mar College.
And Mary and Chairman, I have it on good authority that this fundraiser is so unique that it's going to appear in the Chronicle of Higher Education this month.
Oh, wow, really? Cool.
Thank you. Tammy McDonald's going to come give us an update on the health plan ERS changes.
Good afternoon. Brad's going to go and open the PowerPoint presentation. Make sure you can hear, because I really can't hear myself, so if I'm not speaking up, let me know. I don't know if you wanted to open up or just I'll go straight into the review.
Yeah, let me go ahead and just talk a little bit about what's
Okay.
going on here. There's been some effects from our change in medical health providers and in the way of insurance that we've not anticipated. We've gone through changes before at the college. From originally when I got here, we were a Blue Cross Blue Shield. We went to United, and then we made the switch this past fall. And there have been some dramatic, some very serious changes that are affecting many of our employees here. We know that there are associated state organizations that are also associated under the same umbrella plan and so forth that are being affected. But we've gone through great lengths to, turn over rocks to figure out what the situation is, because it is having a dramatic effect with the level of medical service in the way of doctors, of it being available to our employees. Much has gone on, and I'm going to stop there so Tammy can get through the presentation, but please know that this effort continues.
We're going to review the health plan, which is ERS Health Select, and changes that went into effect September 1st. As some history on our medical insurance, Del Mar College participates in group benefits through the Employer Retirement System of Texas, or what we call ERS. Other participants in these group benefits could be other Texas community colleges, state public universities or colleges, and state agencies. ERS puts the health insurance plan out for bid or out for request for proposals, and they select a company from that process. Del Mar College does not play a role in the selection of who ERS contracts with for insurance coverage. We wanted to review some of the the changes that went into effect September 1st. On September 1st, the Health Select plan changed their plan administrator. That's the company who basically processes all the insurance claims and pays all the bills for the insurance company and does a type of management services for the plan. They switched from United Healthcare to Blue Cross Blue Shield. As Dr. Escamilla said, years ago, about 6 years ago or so, it was with Blue Cross Blue Shield. Then it went to United, now it's back to Blue Cross Blue Shield. Health Select plan now has a new network provider list through Blue Cross. So, there's a list of providers, doctors, hospitals, facilities that you can go to. And in order to get the best benefit, the most benefit paid for your insurance claim, then you are to see someone that's on that list. Some of the primary care physicians and specialists that were on the previous network provider list will not be on the new network provider list. There has been a grace period through December 31st for employees to find a primary care physician that is in the new network if their physician is not in the new network, or they will not be joining the new network. So if an employee had to see their primary care physician and they are not in the network right now, Blue Cross was paying it as if they were in the network. They were going to give us a grace period to find someone that was in network, and that grace period will be up at the end of this month. To date, we do know that there is a decrease of primary care physicians and various specialists. There's a decrease that are on the new network list. So we do know that. We do know employees have experienced delays in service and denial of service. And we are assisting, the HR staff is assisting the employees through our contacts with Blue Cross Blue Shield and ERS with trying to help them facilitate resolution to the troubles that they're having. One additional change that we did mention to employees, because we wanted to make sure that they were aware of some changes. Like I said, this is not all the changes to the plan, but these were two most impactful changes. There are a lot of freestanding emergency rooms, and a freestanding emergency room is one that is not associated with a hospital or a hospital system, and they are out of the network. If an employee goes to a freestanding ER that is out of the network, they will pay a significant amount more out of their pocket to use that facility. And I do know as of this week, still, we do not have one of the freestanding ERs in the network. There are none right now. But the hospitals and their emergency rooms, and if they have a freestanding emergency room, a hospital system, they are in the network. the steps that Del Mar College has taken, one thing that we wanted to do is we wanted to make sure that, because we had heard of some difficulties when this change occurred September 1st, and typically when they do change administrators, there is a little hiccup for about 30, 45 days, then everything kind of smooths out. But that didn't happen in this instance. We started hearing of more issues of employees having difficulties with services, continued service, approved service, and also many of the doctors aren't in the network, or they have already notified patients they will not be in the network. So we wanted to make sure that our employees were fully aware of what was happening and that they understood it. So the HR staff has discussed employee concerns with Blue Cross Blue Shield and ERS representatives that are assigned to service our account. The administration has met with and discussed our concerns with Chairman Hunter, Chairman Herrero, and Senator Hinojos' staff, and those conversations do continue. I believe in tomorrow, I do have a meeting with Representative Jan Lozano. with Chair
Yes, we have a
Lozano.
meeting with Bono in the morning.
And then on December the 1st, Del Mar College administration, and HR staff conducted informational and assistance meetings for our employees. So we had a kind of like a community-wide, a college-wide meeting, brought employees in, listened to their concerns, listened to their questions, also had HR staff available so that we could pair them up with my staff to make sure that if there's something we could do, if we could point them in the right direction, to talk to a Blue Cross representative, to explain if there was some type of gap in coverage we could help with. So we have been trying to assist those employees one-on-one to get those specific needs addressed. On December the 8th, we were supposed to have a meeting on campus, individual sessions with employees, and Blue Cross representatives were going to be here, but because of the snow, they could not travel in from Austin and Houston. So that particular meeting was canceled. And administration has also discussed our concerns with Blue Cross Blue Shield and ERS representatives.
There was about at least a couple of hundred people, maybe or somewhere around.
There was
the
at least
neighborhood
200
for the
employees that
college-wide
came to the
meeting.
December 1st meeting, yes, that had questions, concerns, or they just wanted the information to know what's going on. And we have had reports of a number of employees that have been provided information by their physicians or that have just asked their physician offices that the doctors will not be contracting to get into this new network. And so that was some concerns, and that, as Dr. Escamilla said, that's why we kind of started this in motion and some of the steps that we've taken, because there are a significant number of doctors. Your primary care doctor you have to have. The plan requires you to have one, and it has to be one in network to get your full benefits or to even go to a specialist. But then we also know that there are some specialists that right now, we do not have certain specialists that are in the network right now. They tell us that they are still trying to work on contracts, but as of now, the situation has not changed since we talked to the employees on the 1st. There have not been any updates as far as more specialists or more primary care physicians joining the network. And I know one concern, and I think it was on some information, and some employees have received it, of why some doctors are not getting in the network. It was an inability to contract because of the lower reimbursement rates that Blue Cross was wanting the doctors to contract for to get into the network.
I've made many calls around the state to my counterparts, and I'm hearing, frankly, more colleges that were seemingly not affected than those that were. And so I've called down the Valley, Laredo, San Jacinto, Tyler, and the like. And although there are some complaints locally at their colleges, it doesn't appear that it's bubbled up and it is as severe as the situation is here at Del Mar College. I think there's some pockets in Odessa and Lubbock maybe that I've heard, but I haven't heard
San
directly from
Angelo,
those
yeah.
presidents. That's just what I've heard from other stories in the press and kind of secondhand.
And we did get an update from San Jacinto, and they are starting to have more concerns and issues bubble up,
Okay.
because I think possibly one of the larger groups of primary care doctors has started putting out information that they will not be in network any longer. So,
Still evolving.
so things are still evolving from around the state, and we, our listserv through HR, we're getting updates from those groups around the state as things evolve. Like I said, right now, we're in a grace period, so I think it's going to be more telling after January hits as far as the amount of doctors that the employees do have available or do not have available to see in network.
Ms. McDonald, meeting here at Del Mar where the representatives across Blue Shield. And then also, when you met with Representative Hunter and Herrero and Senator Hinojosa, what was their reaction? Are they working with us, or what are they going to do about this?
When we had the meeting for the employees, we wanted it just to be the employees because we wanted the employees to feel free to share their information with us and to get their concerns or some questions at that particular time in a setting that they were comfortable with. And then we gathered those concerns, and we wanted to make sure that whoever did come here from Blue Cross or Blue Cross and ERS, that they knew what the questions, we wanted answers. We wanted them to bring the answers instead of coming and listening and say, oh, I'll get back with you. So we had the college-wide employee meeting first, gathered a lot of the information and questions, and provided that type of information, questions, and concerns to Blue Cross and said, these are the things that you need to be prepared to answer when you come to campus next week. And so that was kind of the format and the route that we had taken with that.
And said that Blue Cross Blue Shield had canceled. Have they rescheduled a meeting yet?
I've been trying to reschedule the meeting. Now, we're on a very short window this week because we have a very robust final schedule. And to try to have a college-wide meeting, well, they won't do a college-wide meeting, but they'll do individual sessions to make sure that enough employees would be able to go to those sessions. And so a couple of days, a day that would be a better day for our employees was not a good day for them. So I'm still working on trying to bring them back to campus for those individual sessions with employees that have specific concerns or questions.
I just wanted to share, I think at the CFO statewide meeting, the ERS representative was there, and when they began to roll this out, and we verified that this new contract is $1 billion less. Blue Cross Blue Shield is, contract is for $1 billion less over the next 6 years to administer our health care. And I asked, I said, well, where will you save the $1 billion, but only from the providers? And so when they're negotiating these contracts, it's with the doctors and the hospitals that they're reducing their reimbursement rates.
A lot of concern. Okay, the second question about the representatives that you met with, Herrero and Todd
Great
Hunter
support.
and
Great.
Senator Hinojosa.
Great support there, Regent Estrada, Chairman Hunter and Herrero and Senator Hinojosa have all been very, very concerned. We've met with them several times. I've met with Chairman Hunter personally twice. And again, Chairman Lozano is going to be updated as it's impacted us tomorrow. So they've been most helpful. It's affecting them as well, themselves, their staffs. I mean, it's a very localized problem with them, and they understand it. And they're helping us, dig further and find a solution, hopefully. They're doing everything they can.
No, I did find out the contract is a 6-year contract.
Sure, thanks.
I have a couple of questions. That was one of them, this 6-year contract. So you talked about the number of primary care physicians have decreased, and I realize it's changing because they're obviously trying to sign up more as you go, but can you give us an order of magnitude when you say it's decreased locally in our how many, what are we talking about, from 30 to 2? I mean, what does decrease mean?
If you're talking about primary care physicians, which can be a family practice doctor or an internal medicine, if the prior network we were on had approximately and I did a 30-mile radius of the college 78404 zip code. It's about 248, close to 250 that fell in that category. I ran the same parameters for the new network for Blue Cross. I did 30 miles within the college zip code, same family doctors, internal medicine, and it was about 130. So on the list that are in network, there are some that are not taking new patients. If they are taking new patients, it has been reported to us. Like I said, these are things that have been reported to us that they say, well, we can see you in 3 months. Or they're not taking new patients. And I know there are a couple on the list that I think someone had noticed that had just recently retired. So, but I said, what we're hearing from Blue Cross is we're still trying to negotiate. Send us a name.
It's a 50% plus, it's over 50% reduction in the options for primary care physicians that our employees now have.
And more if you
Close to
consider
it.
that some of them either are not
Right,
taking patients or
right.
it's a 3-month wait, so you're effectively cut out from services.
And then we do know right now, that we go to the specialists, which it was very difficult to try to compare specialists, but I do know right now, as of yesterday, that we do not have, and they did tell me they are trying to negotiate with a urologist in the area. But like as of yesterday, we do not have one urologist specialist on the network list.
We,
What are the other specialties that are lacking, that we have severe limitations on?
I haven't done a complete, I know that, we've tried to look at different angles. Sometimes they pop up in 2 or 3 lists, so it's really kind of hard on those kind of specialty lists, but we do know there's no urologist. I think just recently, one of the cardiologist groups did come back into the network, but I believe there are a few less in cardiology.
And the follow-up, the other question related to cost, since you don't have an accurate number on specialists, is the premiums to us or to, we pay 100% of the premiums, or do the employees pay? Is it a match? Tell me what the
Different.
There's a funding structure. The employee premium is paid at 100%, and we receive state funding for that, and the college pays a portion of that. And then on the dependent, it's 50/50, and the state funds part of that, and the college funds part of that. So there's the different funding resources, but primarily it's the state provides us money to fund those premiums, and then the college pays part of that also. So it's a combined funding.
premiums increased? Do you pay the
Well,
same?
This year, as of September 1st, the premium increase was 0.75%. So it was less than 1%. So what we heard is that was the reason they were able to basically not increase the premium was because of this new contract and with the potential to save $1 billion over the next 6 years because of claims cost reduction. Now, I think last year, I think our increases have been running anywhere from 6 to 8% premium-wise previous years.
very minimal
For-
compared to previous years.
Yes, but this year,
But less.
it was, oh, we can keep your premiums pretty much the same. But then, this other came out with going to a new network and then having less access to certain doctors.
Do we have are we asking for something specific? Is there a fix in mind? Are we urging ERS to cancel the contract? And, I'm just trying to understand what the fix might be if ERS has already signed a 6-year contract. I don't understand what the fix might be.
Our best, so as this continues to evolve, we're waiting for more doctors to negotiate to see what the final outcome will be, because we are being told that negotiations are continuing. And so we don't know what the ultimate number will be. In working with Chairman Hunter and our other elected officials, they're the ones who are most, that have I think the broader strategy for us at the state level, and certainly have the contacts that we don't have. And so that's why we're meeting with them on a regular basis to see, hey, what's next, and those kinds of things. Again, I'm waiting for the end of the month to see what the impact is across a state, to see who's going to join us in this conversation from our fellow colleges around the state. But we are definitely working with our elected officials and asking that they help us by taking the lead with our strategy. We ultimately just want more doctors. We also understand that if you go back, even that number, that 248 number for this area, is a relatively low number, and it's been a low number, we feel, for a long time, but we've been able to do, I guess. So what I'm saying is the reduction is a reduction from what we believe was already a low number.
The last question is, do community colleges, do we have any other options? Can we get out of ERS and negotiate our own health insurance?
We've asked this one over and over, and we're looking at models out there. I think the answer is yes in some ways, but it would be extremely expensive. in some ways. So we're looking at those various models. Tammy?
That
you-
state supplement comes if you're part of ERS, and if you're
If
not
you're
part of
tied in.
ERS, you don't get the state supplement.
Yeah, we'd have to check that legally. I don't know the answer to that unless
If you look
Tammy-
at community colleges, all the community colleges in Texas are in this ERS program. All 50 of them are in it. All public universities that I could see on the list that participate in ERS are on there, except the UT system has their own insurance, and A&M has their own insurance. They do not participate in ERS, but all the other large universities, they all participate in this also. All state agencies, TxDOT, DPS, Parks and Wildlife, all of them participate in this program. So here in this area, it's not just a Del Mar problem, it expands to the other state employees in this area. So it's not just Del Mar who would be looking for new doctors. There are a large number of state employees that will be looking for doctors on this list. If what we're hearing from the medical community, the doctors that will not be, and many people have already received letters from their doctors saying, we will not be in this network come January.
So are we coordinating with A&M Corpus, the whole A&M system is
The whole
not,
system is,
the entire system is not part of it?
they're not affected by this.
Yes, the whole A&M system has their own insurance plan, and the entire UT system has their own insurance plan.
It's difficult.
Yes.
We've been asked, can we get together with other community colleges and form our own insurance group and that sort of thing. That's why we're trying, because of that, we're looking at who's really affected by this and at what level. Because it appears that there are many, and especially the big metropolitan area colleges that are not as affected as we are, proportionally speaking. I came from a college that was self-funded in Illinois, and we had to move away from that and jump into a bigger group with a different, from the PPO, from primarily PPO to the HMO model, and because we couldn't sustain those prices. But we're looking at everything.
Beth, one thing you might look into, my understanding is that if a specialist is not in the Blue Cross group, but Blue Cross says that the patient, it's deemed medically necessary to see a cardiologist or endocrinologist, then they will.
Well, there's what they call gap coverage, and it can get complicated. So what we're doing is if any particular employee has that need, then we are connecting them with an assistant through Blue Cross to help. And that's only true if there are no specialists in the network in your area within so many miles. So there's certain criteria you have to, if you have a specialist that's in network within so many miles of here, then that would not be an option for you, I guess you could say. So it's very specific criteria. If you go out of area to what they call an out-of-network doctor, and if it would be paid as in-network benefit or not. So what we're doing is we're taking it on a case-by-case basis, because there's not a one fix or one answer to someone's medical care in certain situations. So we're handling it individually.
Are there other questions? I know there's a lot of probably comments and feelings about this matter, but any other questions that we could answer at this point? Okay. Thank you for the in-depth update. Appreciate it. Next, Dr. Lewis is going to give us an update on the Associate in Sciences degree in chemistry with a concentration in chemical engineering to become an Associate in Science and Chemical Engineering.
Thank you. I get to bring you good news. Del Mar has currently offered an Associate of Science in Chemistry with an emphasis in chemical engineering for a number of years. Students have successfully transferred to A&M Kingsville, University of Houston, and University of Texas with this degree. But recently, the Texas Higher Education Coordinating Board issued a field of study curriculum in chemical engineering. So we are modifying our degree to become an Associate of Science in Chemical Engineering. A&M Kingsville has an articulation agreement with us to accept all the courses into their into their BS degree. And A&M Corpus is applying for a chemical engineering degree and will accept all of our courses in the degree. And this change goes into effect in fall of 2018. Questions?
It's good to go last in the staff reports to have positive information to be short, so thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. College President's Report, Dr. Escamilla.
Just a couple of dates, everyone. Our December 14th, which is this Thursday, Miss Delia, the time for the season celebration. There it is. I didn't get an invitation, Miss Delia. What are you trying to tell me? No, I'm just kidding. Thursday, December 14th at 10 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. at our West Campus, ET 124 A and B. Please come join us and celebrate the season. And then the following day, on the 15th, is our fall graduation. And I'm pleased to report to everyone that Chairman of Higher Education, J.M. Lozano, will be our keynote speaker. So we're looking forward to that, and we're looking forward to getting those numbers as soon as we get the semester wrapped up for the number of graduates. I'm always curious. I know you are too, so we'll get those back. But that concludes my report, and if you have any questions, I'm glad to answer.
Any questions for Dr. Escamilla? Next section is Regents reports. I know that several of the Regents and also Dr. Christina Wilson and I believe Natalie Villarreal attended the Texas Higher Education Coordinating Board's Leadership Conference that was in, I believe, Austin. Is that right, correct, Austin? Yes. On November 30th through December 1st. Anyone that attended that would like to share any relevant or poignant information that you learned? Yes, ma'am. Sandra.
I'll be short. One of the, this happened to have 2 or 3 really, really fine speakers, and I think it took the 60 by 30 and kind of put it all in a small capsule. I'm not sure that we are going to be able to move that fast, but one of the important things was, let's see, Jeffrey Solinko that wrote, "There is life after college," and that our mission should be, when they walk out of college, are they going to have a job? And one of the recommendations he made was, out of the 5 job skills that all of these students need, is number 1, organizational skills. They should be immersed in Microsoft Excel, learning consumer services, be able to do an excellent written communication. Liberal arts majors should take hard skills during their college degree, and all employers are looking for a college degree plus certificates. And they will be the first to be hired because they will have these skills. And they encourage for all soft skills to be taught in every class. That's it.
Sandra
Yes.
pretty much covered what I was going to say, but I'd like to add to that our Commissioner of Higher Education was there, and he talked about the 60 by 30, and he went over the 4 goals, and he talked about how important the data was. So I'm so glad that we're working on that now. And he also had 2 people from his office that spoke on the website, the 60by30.tx, and he said that would be available to anyone. And also, we had a session on board ethics, and I thought that was very beneficial to all, but especially to our new board members. And, so a lot of the information that he shared was something that Mr. Rivera has already shared with us. And then finally, I'd like to say that Ms. Sandy and I had the honor of hanging around with Dr. Kelly Quintanilla from A&M Corpus Christi, and we learned a lot about the university. She's such a pleasant lady, and we love her, but we don't love her as much as we love you, Dr. Escamilla.
And I love it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any,
One of her favorite people, though.
Yes, she did say that.
I'll take it. Thank you.
any other reports from the conference? Okay, great, thank you. Next on the agenda is pending business. We are on track with the items. We have one item we'll be covering today later in closed session, and everything else is queued up for January or later, so we're in good shape with that. So we'll move now into the consent agenda. Regents, this is items number 1, 2, and 3 on the consent. It's the approval of the minutes for the regular board meeting of October 10th, 2017, acceptance of the investments for November 2017, and acceptance of the financial statements for October of 2017. Would any regent like to take any one of these items off consent and remove it to separate discussion? Hearing none, do I have a motion for consent?
Move to approve.
Motion from Gabe, second from Elva, great. Any further discussion by regents? Any public comment on consent agenda items number 1, 2, or 3? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Moving now into the regular agenda, item number 4A, discussion and possible action related to review and adoption of updated tax abatement guidelines and criteria, including overview of prior tax abatements. Mr. Rivetta and Mike Culberson from the EDC will be here. Welcome, Mike.
Thank you very much.
Let me
Mr.
tee it up a
Chairman.
bit, Mike, and just go over, we've got in your packet two different board items, 4A and 4B. As you know, this is related to a abatement request that you all have received, and I think the point of the memo was for it to be pretty self-explanatory about the order that you have to take this. And Mike's here to address any questions with respect to the updated guidelines that we're asking you to consider and approve today, as well as the specific application from EPIC. So, Mike, welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, Regents. Mike Culbertson, your Corpus Christi Regional EDC, here with good news. Why do we do tax abatement? Tax abatement is a way to incentivize companies to come and locate here, because once they're here, they are in your base the entire time. And these are the ones that we're having to look at. If we didn't have to if nobody offered incentives, then that would be fine, but they do. And in fact, if you take a look at the Apple with their second headquarters, they are asking for somewhere in the neighborhood of $1 billion in incentives. Now, this is 1,000 people with, $75,000 a year jobs. But once you land that, it will change everything on the map for you. Let me tell you how we work this. A project will come to us, or we actually go out and look for projects. We look for projects that fit into our workforce, or also we look for projects that can diversify. In other words, our workforce, they don't just work on refineries, they can work on other things, process automation, plastics, things like that, that will extend our reach and diversify our economy. Project will come to us. We at the EDC will do our due diligence. We'll run reports on them. We'll run reports on companies. We'll run, and then we'll take a look at their source documents for where they incorporated and their annual reports. Then we'll go in and look to see who their principals are, and we'll run reports on them. So we want to make sure that the people who come to you are real. Number one, they have a real project. Number two, they have a good track record. Number three, they're able to actually do the work. Then we'll do an economic impact model. When we do that model, we take a look to see if the incentive you give is less than, and we're talking like, a 5-year payback, less than the money that you are going to get back. So we do that on all the projects. Then, once we're all done and everybody's happy and everybody shakes hands, I come in about a year later, knock on their door and say, okay, you said you were going to do this, you were going to invest this amount, you're going to create these jobs, and I go through those. I'm a CPA, I'm a former CFO. I'll go through all of their reports. I don't just go in and say, so how much did you invest? I go through all of their financials. They go, if I will find who they contracted with, and I'll ask those people in a letter to tell me how much they were paid. That's how I go back and find the investments. And just so you know, I do all the compliance for Del Mar College, for Nueces County, for San Patricio County, for the City of Corpus Christi, and for the Type A Board of Corpus Christi. So I do a lot of ones. Right now, well, Del Mar has had 6 tax abatements that I could find. First one that I found was Topaz Power, which had 2 projects. They were restarting 2 CP&L plants. One was in the Inner Harbor, Nueces Bay, and the other's out in the Bluff, Barney Davis. They had to invest $670 million in there. By the time they were finished, they invested $900 million. Now, they had a requirement to maintain a certain level, and this is in your guidelines, to maintain a certain level of value. 1 year, and just 1 year out of all the years they had it, they did not maintain that value, and the way I know is because I did the compliance on them, and we came back and we recovered that money for the college. It was $37,000. I know it's not a lot, but it's money that was due you, money that they promised would be there, and we made sure that they went back and fulfilled that promise. You have M&G Resins. I know that they're in bankruptcy, but one of the nice things about tax abatement is it's a tax lien. You will get paid. Whoever picks up the equipment, that lot, will get paid. I want you to know that the PET plant, remember they're going to do a PET, polyethylene, and a PTA, Parent Teacher Association. But the PET is 80% complete. So we know, and as soon as we're allowed to, we will try to market that site and get somebody in there to finish up. At that point, once they come out of bankruptcy, the tax abatement will be gone, the lien will go against them, and then you will get your money once. And they have to pay that first before they can start. Okay, so you will get.
So Mike, just to clarify on that, I want to make sure I heard that correctly. So first and foremost, we're a protected creditor effectively
Yes,
on that, so we're going to get that back. And secondly, whoever buys it, who has an incentive to buy it because they're getting a sort of a bargain deal, gets no abatement. So we will
Correct.
start actually
It is
collecting
over.
taxes on that as soon as someone buys it and puts it in
Correct.
production. Got it.
And as they come out of bankruptcy, you will actually start, that tax bill will continue to go. Now, they said that they were going to invest $750 million. So far, they've actually invested $669 million. They've brought all this stuff, put it in. It is appraised for $496,623,000 right now. And that's what you're getting taxes on. So, if you remember Castleton came in. They're a fractionator, a splitter. They take condensate, which is essentially the liquid that sits over the crude, and they get the phthanes, methane, propane, butane, all of that. And we had 8 splitters that was coming to our region, and we were all happy. Everything was going good. And then the United States government allowed exports of condensate, and 6 of them went away right away. Magellan, which is in the Inner Harbor, they actually completed their fractionator. Castleton, they looked at it and they decided not to. So while you do have a tax abatement, they have not received a tax abatement, and nor have they done anything. And that's just over. You have 2 more. You have the Chenier docks and the Vistalpina docks. Chenier, I'll do the first compliance on them for this tax year, but it actually occurs in January through March of next year. Vistalpina docks, they finished their docks. They said that they were going to invest $56.7 million, and they invested $67 million. So what we want to do, we want to be collaborative, number one. So when we talk about tax abatement, now everybody has tax abatement policies, the city, Nueces County, Del Mar, San Patricio County. We are not trying to get people to compete. So the tax abatement policy that you have is the same as the county, the same as Nueces County. It's the same as San Patricio County, and it marries to the city. The city has different ones because they allow smaller investment in certain areas, depending on if they're enterprise zones. But when you're looking at this guideline, I want to assure you that this is as even as we can get. And that's all I have on the first part.
Updating policy.
What's that? I'm sorry.
Why are we updating our tax abatement policy?
By statute, it is only good for 2 years.
Oh, okay. So
And
it's been
so,
2 years since we.
Yeah, but it's really not worth coming back and renewing it every 2 years. You can let it lapse, and then the next time you get a policy, then do it at that time. That way, it is at the moment, so you can see if this policy is the best for you going forward.
When was the last time we did this?
Updating the guidelines, 2014. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
2014. And so they've expired. And what you have is updated guidelines in your packet are modeled after what the county's doing.
Do we update or
I'm sorry.
do we update or does the county update?
The county updated also. They actually updated for 4B. We'll talk about that in a second. But yes, they updated in November.
Correct. Our own guideline.
If I'm understanding the point, all of the entities that could offer rebates tend to try to cycle the renewals or the updates at the same time, when there's a.
Yeah, it's just easier that way instead of having it on the, because say you approve it and the economy turns for you or against you, you don't really, you want to make that decision when you get another project. Unless you have another project, and then you just renew as you can.
And so what we're asking the board to do today, we are in sync effectively, or in lockstep
Yes.
with the other governmental entities that offer tax abatements.
Yes, sir.
I had asked for, and I didn't ask, I was not in the closed session that where we discussed this. You gave us an initial briefing on this, so I apologize if this didn't get to you in the correct form. I'd like to see, you said that there are 6 abatements that Del Mar has offered. And I think it's helpful for us to explain how these abatements benefit the community at large, as well as Del Mar College specifically. And I'm in favor of it, so don't take my question as challenging at all. But I'd like us to see what was projected or what was promised when these 6 abatements were put into place and what's actually come to fruition. And I realize a large part of that is based on the valuation. You can assume certain valuations when you are giving us projections on what we might see in the future. But I think it's very helpful for folks to see, based on a current valuation for a piece of property, either a blank greenfield piece of property or something that hasn't been approved, and then when these abatements happen and the investment happens and the jobs come in, that property then, 10 years later, we get 100% of the improvements off of it. And so I'd like to see the numbers. I think the numbers are very important for folks to see what kind of actual revenue is generated. And when we say we're going to incentivize these companies to come, at the end of the day, it's been good for them and it's been good for us. I want to see the numbers that show that it's been good for us.
Except for M&G and, of course, Castleton, all of them have hit their investment and their value, because remember, in Del Mar, it's not how much you invest, it's what the value is based on the appraisal district. So all of them have hit their values, except the one time when Topaz did not, and we got that difference. We got the delta. And all of them have hired the required and maintained that level.
I believe you. I want to see the report.
okay.
I want to see a spreadsheet
I
that
can-
shows
I
me
can
the
knock that
numbers.
out.
Are we still abating the taxes on all these 6?
Topaz is over. M&G, there is not a move you can make while they're in bankruptcy, but once they come out, then they will not be abated anymore. Castleton, of course, is not. Chenier and Vistalpina are the only ones that are in the tax abatement currently.
That is a reminder that several years ago, we did ask Dr. Escamilla and Augie if we could just develop an ongoing schedule that takes the history of abatements of Del Mar College, and we get a new one like this, we add it on. It's a simple Excel spreadsheet. I think we need to go ahead and do that. I mean, it's been brought up again by Regent Scott, and I think that would help to be able, a new regent coming in, hey, here's the history of abatements we've done. Even next week, you could have a column at what point we updated that abatement agreement, maybe several other columns that highlight the key features of that abatement. A one-stop place.
Put that for review annually?
Sure, yeah, we could do that. So Dale, if we could add that to the pending list, just so we don't forget to do that. I think it was out of sight, out of mind from a prior request.
If you want to, my compliance is due the 1st of April, and I could just do the compliance and that at the same time.
Great idea. Once a year, we review it and hear what's happened in the last year related to those. Okay.
And we'll work on developing a report, so what Mike just presented, we can have that.
Okay. So the request for Regents for item 4A is there's actually a resolution in your packet that's updating the guidelines and criteria for granting the tax abatement. It is a resolution. We don't need to read it according to Augie, but it is something we would need a motion on if you want to move forward on this.
These are separate agenda items, right?
4A is just to update the resolution, then we'll come back in a second to 4B and apply that updated criteria to the next project.
I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve 4A.
So we have a motion on 4A, the updated guidelines and criteria for granting tax abatement. Do we have a second? We have a second from Elva. Any further discussion by Regents? Any public comment on agenda item 4A, updating the guidelines and criteria for a tax abatement from Del Mar College? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Item number 4B, discussion and possible action related to the application for the tax abatement of Epic Y-Grade Logistics LP and proposed tax abatement agreement.
Epic stands for Eagleford, Permian, Ingleside, Corpus Christi. And it is actually a pipeline that starts in New Mexico and comes all the way here. So what we are asking for is to incentivize them to locate that here in your base in Del Mar District. I know we talk about, wow, we have like $50 billion. Don't ask me to name them because, I'm kind of a really, down to the penny guy. So let's just say 50. But a lot of that is in San Patricio County. It's not in your base. This is in your base. This is on Violet Road, just across from Lyondell, LaSalle. They will increase the value by $200 million and create at least 10 jobs, which is a requirement. Now, they'll probably have more, but we don't want to overpromise. They certainly will make the 10. And in a year, I'll come in and I'll check. And when I check, just so you know, they have a form that comes from Texas Workforce Commission that has the person, it has a lot, so I don't take it off site, but it also has their home address so that I know that those people live here. They're not living in Houston and or somebody in the corporate office is on this payroll. So they'll have 10 jobs. Just so you know, when we first started doing this, we look at environmental because it is important to the EDC that we do not go out of attainment. If we go out of attainment, everything becomes more expensive and no one else will come here. That's why it's important. Now, when I started looking at these, I talked to them about permits, and I talked to them about air permits, and they looked at me and they go, we don't need an air permit. Well, what do you mean you don't need an air permit? They don't need an air permit. So while an air permit usually takes like 14 months, their construction is actually 18 months. They get it with it's called an oil and gas, and it's a closed system, and they send a report, and they are allowed to go ahead with their construction. The same person that oversaw Equistar, if you take a look at across the street where Lyondell LaSalle is, the north part of it is actually Equistar and Equistar fractionator. The same person who did that is doing this project. So here's a person who come in on budget, built one, and he's just going across the street and he's building this next one. So the company has all the money to complete the project. They're backed by certain investors that we've reviewed. They're going to have an 18-month construction. When we took a look at it, we saw how close it was. If you know where Lyondell LaSalle is, TM, Tolosa Midway, is just north of there. I actually made a presentation to Tolosa Midway ISD board, the school board, and briefed them on the project so that they would be comfortable with it so I could answer all of their questions. Then I went to Cal Allen. Now, they have an incentive agreement, a 313 for Cal Allen. Of course, Cal Allen only has Lyondell LaSalle, so they really need that tax base. And they have accepted, and this is the way it works, they've accepted the 313 application. After they accept it, it goes to the comptroller's office, and they go through that. So I briefed both Tolosa Midway on the environmental and Cal Allen on the environmental and the incentive. So the county, we went through that, went through Commissioner's Court, and they approved this last week. So we're asking that you approve a tax abatement for Epic.
Are there any questions for Mike about item 4B, the actual abatement request that's on the table?
I have a question.
Yes, sir, please.
It's a pipeline. Is that correct?
It is. A pipeline comes in, and they take that pipeline and take the materials and fractionate them.
So have they already laid the pipeline, or
No, they have not.
Are they in the process of laying the pipeline?
They had to announce that they may do a pipeline, and they had to announce because since it crossed state lines, FERC required them to make an announcement. But they have not.
They acquired the land out there.
What's that?
Have they acquired the land?
I know that they have a land person, and they've started looking at that. I do not know if they've actually purchased the right-of-way on the land.
I guess my question is, if they've already made the commitment, what incentive are we getting to give them a tax abatement?
is that they will locate it in your area.
Have they not already made that commitment?
No, they have not.
Other questions, Ed?
They cannot. I mean, in the 313, they are not allowed to. If they were to make that commitment, the 313 would, that goes through the Texas Comptroller's Office, would not be approved.
First, if other governmental agencies approve this abatement and we don't, does
They
that have to be,
would-
I'm asking, does that have to be unanimous? Do all the taxing entities have to buy into it?
No, it does not. That's why I'm here.
Okay.
They would make a decision at that point. I mean, this is the whole point, is we're trying to, as a community, we're trying to get them and put the best incentive package forward to get them to make that decision to come here. And so, you know, the ISD is doing their part, the county's doing their part, and I'm here asking for Del Mar to help.
That's a question a different way. So in their project timeline, they've identified a site for the plant, for the what'd you call it?
Fractionator.
Fractionator. They've identified a pathway for the pipeline, but they've not made a final investment decision.
Correct.
When will they make a final investment decision?
They're talking either February or March of next year.
Of next year? And then when will they start construction if the final investment decision is a go?
And right after that.
Okay. So they're prepared and are geared up, but their project economics aren't finalized, and they don't get approval from their financiers and board and others until they have this complete package put together. So that's the difference. In these big projects, there is a final investment decision that the project could still not happen if the economics don't work. And so these abatements are part of those project economics. So yeah, they want to make it happen. They're putting everything together to make it happen. This is a site it's going to happen, but if the financials don't work, it doesn't happen.
Right.
I can understand that, but we just, 3 months ago, we raised taxes at 7.95% for all of our taxpayers.
Yes, sir.
And we've got to issue another $220 million of bonds that we have to pay interest on and have a sinking fund for. So we're going to be increasing taxes for our current taxpayers. And I have problems abating taxes for new people. I have problems abating taxes for anyone. We're going to increase our taxes for the next several years based on what we were looking at this morning. The taxpayers approved the bond issues, but we have to pay that money back. If we issue $220 million more of bonds, we're going to have to pay approximately $8.8 million a year in interest. If we amortize that sinking fund, it's going to cost us another $12 million. So that's $20 million extra dollars that we're going to have to fund every year for a while. So abating taxes.
Except that one philosophy of that is if we don't get this project and we lose it, then after this period, we don't even have that additional taxes to put towards that. So
I agree with that.
It's an investment in the future.
And is this a 10-year abatement?
It's a 10-year, but really in this one, they have 5 years of construction, but they're only going to take 2, and then 5 years after that. So as soon as they get out of construction, say construction takes 2 years, then that's it. They get 2 years of construction and 5 years at 50%. This is not open-ended. It could end in 7 years. If they were to miraculously finish in 1 year, they would get 1 year construction and 5 years after that.
But even if it were the 10 full years and a bond payment is 20 years or 25 years or whatever we do, we'd still have contributions of 10 or more years towards any current increased cost. I mean, I think that's what it is. But it is a philosophical sort of approach. Do you invest in something?
And I'm struggling with that, and I understand your numbers, and I understand mine. I struggle with that.
And I think we see that not all projects are created equal. What I like about this one is the quick upstart, that it doesn't take the full 5 years. I mean, that's typically our standard, but.
Saying 5, but I just want to clarify, it's 3 years maximum for construction. You're saying they're projecting 18 months.
Right, so we get it started quicker. So this is it doesn't have the long lead time and some of the approvals, as you've indicated. So it's going to be, in theory, one of the better projects to get returning to the college sooner.
Certainly, and it helps that the person who did it just did the same thing across the street.
They know what they're doing.
Right.
And that's why if we had that report and that rolling spreadsheet that shows us where we are in each of these projects that have previously been approved, we could see that, okay, you approved a 3-year construction. This one was actually finished in 27 months rather than 36, and so it rolled onto the tax roll sooner. And here's your actual numbers of income and when the income started coming in at 50%, at 75%, and at 100%. If we actually would see that on a regular basis, it'd be much more helpful to visualize what that annual operating tax income looks like.
What will we actually be taxing, that fractuator?
Yes,
That's it?
yes. The land is not abated. Whatever you get on the land, you get, and if the value of the land goes up, you get that. It's just the improvements.
Maybe you said it and I just missed it. Did Nueces County already approve this tax abatement?
Yes, they did.
And CCISD? Cal Allen?
Cal Allen accepted the 313. Now it goes to the comptroller's office. and
So they have it
They have
approved.
120 days.
Okay.
But by accepting it, they're saying that they are with this project and
But
approve it.
Nueces County already has approved.
Yes,
it.
ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's a very good discussion, and it's an important discussion because it's not only about something that's in front of us right now, but obviously the philosophy of how we do this, because there'll be more of these in the future. Other questions or comments before we see if we have a motion?
Okay,
Sure.
we have 6 properties that we've abated, and we're paying, we haven't gotten a return on any of those 6?
Yes,
Have
you
any of
got-
those been closed and we're already
Yes.
getting taxes? How many?
Topaz. Now, remember, in the out years, you're getting 50%. So it's not like 100% for 10 years. You're getting
So
50%.
how many actually are we putting, are still going? Or we're not receiving any?
Chenier docks, Vistalpina docks, and the M&G, which is technically as long as they're in bankruptcy.
Bankruptcy. And if we pick up these 2, we'd have 5.
No, it's just this one.
Didn't we just do 1? Oh, that's right, the guideline, sorry. Okay.
Other questions? And do we have a motion, someone willing to make a motion to accept the application for tax abatement from Epic?
Also move.
Carol, do we have a second? We have a second?
I'll second.
Susan? Any further discussion by Regents? Any public comment on item number 4B? Let's do a roll call vote on this one, Debbie, if you wouldn't mind. Yes.
No.
Yes.
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 A motion carries 7-2. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mike, for your
Thank you, and
presentation.
I'll get that spreadsheet for you.
And I do want us to put on a pending list, not only the schedule, I think it's a great idea to have you come each year. Maybe some of the comfort zone would be there if we've been doing annual reviews by you, which I think would be good.
Sure.
So,
All right, sir. Thank you.
great, thank you. Item number 5, discussion and possible action related to the college's comprehensive annual financial report, CAFR, for the fiscal year ending August 31st, 2017. I know we've got Bridget Cook from our CPA firm here. Is there anything that someone would like to say to tee these up, or do we just go straight to the wonderful Bridget Cook?
Yeah, I think Bridget's ready to,
Okay.
she's ready. This
Great,
is
thank you.
teamwork here, and Bridget's going to present.
Yes, I hope I'm going to present my technology. Okay. So instead of PowerPoint, I brought a PDF this time instead of having y'all flipping around papers. So I want y'all have a letter that got passed out to you that looks like this. I just wanted to start with this. these are basically are the requirements of what I need to communicate to the board or those charged with governance. And I'm not sure what I have here. Okay. So, oh, good. Okay. I have to use arrows instead of the mouse. That's been since probably 1987. Y'all remember that? Before mice, before we had mice. The first thing is that this year we did do the audit, and one thing I wanted to point out. Okay. Right. Oh, I got a mouse. One of the things I wanted to point out to you is that we are doing the audit of the basic financial statements, and in your table of contents, those are the items that are listed right under this section here on the very beginning of, do y'all have paper copies of the report, perchance? Or would you like me to? Okay, so on your index, my responsibility as auditors is to give an opinion on the basic financial statements, which consists of the statement of net position, the statement of revenue and expenses, and changes in net positions, the statement of cash flows, and the notes to the financial statements. And my opinion is on page 23. I'm not going to make you go to that. I want you to know that it expresses an unmodified opinion, which means that the financial statements are fairly presented in all material respects in accordance with GAAP and also in accordance with the governmental auditing standards. In addition to that, there is also these required by the Texas Higher Education Coordinating Board, required supplemental information. And those, although we don't express an opinion on those, we do some clerical testing of those, so those are also included in there. Okay. I was thinking I was going to have bookmarks, and this was going to be a little easier than in the past, but I want to give you some highlights on the financial statements. So I'm starting with the statement of net position, which is on page 47 or page 175 if you're looking at your board book. So the statement of net position is similar to your balance sheet. So it's a point-in-time financial statement as of the college's year end, August 31st, 2017. And see, I can't scan in, and I know you all can't see this, but the highlights are that you're right here in the middle of the page. You can see that your total assets and deferred outflows increased by $6.2 million compared to the prior year. So this is your balance sheet, so it's as of a specific date, and we're comparing it to the prior year. The increase of $6.2 million is primarily 4.4 increase in your cash and your investments, and that's primarily due to that we did issue new bonds this year, about $9 million. That's also an increase in your capital assets, and you can see that overall our capital assets increased by about $9 million in investments, but that's offset by depreciation of about 5.5. So our overall capital assets, which would be your property, plant, and equipment right here in the middle of the page. Also, another thing to point out is, I think you all remember a couple of years ago we had GASB 68, which was when we were required to book your pension liability. And although this year we have no new pronouncements, next year we're going to have a new pronouncement that will affect the college, and it's related to the similar thing. It's the OPEBs, which is other post-employment benefits. GASB 75 will be implemented next year, and so that will cause us to bring another liability onto our balance sheet. Right now, you can see about halfway down the page that we have the pension benefits of, oh, that's so much better. I'm sorry. Net pension benefits right here, where they've increased by about $1 million from last year to this year. And related to that are also these deferred outflows of resources. Those increased by $1 million on the asset side. Basically, that's your payment on your pension plan for the current year that is not part of the number down here in the liability, because the actuary's report is not out yet. So our pension liability is calculated a year behind based on the TRS reports, which are calculated using the year end of December 31st, 2016. So the new numbers aren't out yet, so that's why those get recalculated, and you post those a year late. So now that I've completely confused you, let's talk a little bit about our liabilities. Our liabilities and deferred inflows, which is right here. These increased, these increased by 1.2 million. And a lot of that increase, of course, is the pension liability. And there's also a decrease in your unearned revenues, a small decrease of about $712,000, which is the result of a delay in our because of Hurricane Harvey, there was a delay in fall registration. So that's part of the reason that that's not as high as it usually is. The next page is the college foundation. So I'm passing through that since that's not what we're here to talk about. Let's talk about our statement of revenues and expenses and changes in net position, pointing out at the bottom that we have an increase for the year of $5 million in our net position. That's offset by a decrease in our revenue, which is primarily right here on your federal grants, where there's a decrease in your federal grants, and it's a timing issue. Last year we had the contract for the completion of the FEMA dome, and that's the decrease there. And also you have a decrease here in your local grants. So your overall decrease in operating revenue between this number and this number is 3.5. And the state grants, the big decrease there was the grants received for the pilot plant that got instituted last year. I want to point out, too, that your tuition and fees did increase with a 6% increase in enrollment in the current year. As far as operating expenses down here, operating expenses increased. Primarily, it was salary increases, some increase in your health insurance and other employee benefits. That's the primary increases there. But overall, you still end up with, although less than last year, a net increase in state position under your non-operating revenues. The biggest thing there is that you had an increase in your taxes. And the taxes right here in the middle here, maintenance and ad valorem taxes and your debt service costs that both went up. So overall, your non-operating expenses are up by $6 million. And I indicated that we had on our audit, we actually had a unmodified opinion, which means the financial statements are fairly stated in all material respects. But in addition to our regular financial statement audit, we also do part of the single audit, which is the federal and state awards. And that is at the very back of this thing, which...
Give us a page number off of the book. Are you looking?
133.
I think most everyone's looking at the hard book, so that will be helpful to have the page number.
Yes. And I don't know how to get there. Let's see. Is there another way I can get down quicker? Oh, maybe just go like this, okay. Oh, I'm so sorry.
Right, is there a way to? PDF? could you
Right
go-
in the middle there, so it's on the PDF, if you're looking at the PDF, it's on PDF page 261,
But in the book, it's page 133.
133. So, sometime I'm going to figure this out, what's the best way to do it. Because I want you all to look at your books, and I know it's very voluminous, that you don't want to. The first thing is, I want to point out on there's 3 reports as part of this federal and state awards, and under governmental auditing standards, we look at internal control over financial reporting and compliance and other matters. The first report is on your internal controls, and I want you, at the very bottom of that first page, it explains what we're doing as far as the internal controls over financial reporting, and we did not have any material weaknesses identified in internal controls over financial reporting. However, on the next page, under other matters, we did have a compliance issue that occurred this year, and that's reported to you later in the report, and I'll kind of go over that with you. So this year we did have one compliance issue that was required to report to you. Then right following that page is your statement about your federal major programs. This is your grant testing that we do. This indicates also at the very bottom of the page that we didn't have any, the college complied in all material respects with the type of compliance required referred to above that could have a direct or material effect on each major federal program for the year ended August 31st. And on this one, the thing I wanted to point out to you is like we have a criteria of how we test programs for testing on the grant. The programs that we tested for the current year are listed in this report, and I will show you where in just a minute. But however, there were some other findings that were not part of the major programs that we tested this year that had a compliance issue. And so the results of those procedures are disclosed as a noncompliance and a material weakness in the report that follows this. So right after this report, and it explains that in a couple of different places, it's kind of a schedule that's a summary. So this is on page 138, I think. And this is telling us the results of the audit. So the first part is talking about the report over internal controls, and then the second part is talking about federal awards, and it says that we are reporting a weakness to you. The question here is right below there where I have it highlighted, where it says programs tested as major programs. Under our governmental auditing standards that I know you don't want to know too much about, we have a methodology of how we choose which grants get picked each year, and we don't look at every transaction or every grant every year, but there's certain grants that we have to have a certain dollar coverage. So there's this calculation that we do to determine which ones are the major ones to be looked at each year, and then maybe we'll go between some type A and type B programs. This year also was the first year that they increased the threshold to $750,000 for the grant tested. But that doesn't mean that if a grant is under $750,000 that we don't look at it. We do those not every year though. So for the most part for the college, we're always going to be looking at financial aid because there's no way for us to get it's such a big component of the overall grants. You have 23 million in federal grants, and so that's the bulk of them. So we always will be testing those, and then some other different grants throughout the year. That's followed by the findings and question costs, which shows you the one weakness that we're reporting, and it gives you all the details there, and as well as management's response on that. And that's followed by the state, the detailed list of all the grants for federal, and then there's also a report similar for the state grants. And that's coming down there. Does that go quicker? Right. There's the state grant. And of course, on this grant that there was a problem with was a federal grant. And that's what I'm required to report to you. So are there any questions?
Problem.
Well, I think it's pretty well laid out there. There was a subrecipient well, there's a couple of different items listed in detail where the record keeping wasn't maintained.
Go to page 139, because I think that's the key page.
Yeah.
Basically, some monitoring procedures were not followed. We're going to get a full update in closed session, Carol, but I think what's important, though, for the public standpoint, there were some problems found, they've been corrected. What we need to hear from management, have procedures been put in place to correct those? They have, yes. And,
Right. And also, just to point out that our current testing, we did not find any question costs for the current year. This was a grant, you can see the date on it, it's 2016.
So, the problem happened a year ago. In subsequent testing, you didn't find a problem with the new grant. So you've already retested, effectively retested. You
Well,
tested
this
more
grant
corrected.
is not, it's not the same as this grant, but anyway, right,
So it indicates that things have been proved and been corrected.
correct.
Okay.
And there is no management letter this year, and I feel like the audit went very smoothly. We had a few things like this report that came in November. The results of this were reported in November by DWC. So the actual accounting staff, I just want to really commend them because they got in there early, and they actually gave me a good part of the CAFR early, and we had a very smooth year this year. So my many thanks to your very qualified staff.
I wanted to personally thank Bridget and staff in, as far as our external auditors and then working with our own internal staff. I know this is a lot of work, and that the project, the CAFR, the Certified Annual Financial Report, that goes to the Government Finance Officers Association, and this will be our 7th one, I believe, to submit for the award. And it's really a coming together between our auditors, thank you very much, who've done diligent work, and it's a timeline that's tough at the end of the year. And then, of course, our accounting staff with John Johnson and Dr. Kathy West and staff there, and then institutional research with Sushil Palamoni and Jane Haas. That whole team comes together along with the auditors to put this together, and they've done an excellent job.
I want to be sure we open it up for questions before Bridget steps away from the podium. Any questions from anyone in the room? I know Ed's already poured over this, which I really appreciate your expertise.
Wonderful document.
Good.
Well,
good.
thank you.
There you go. You just got the good housekeeping seal of
Well,
approval.
at the end, the
And
GFOA
housekeeping.
has a checklist. It's 133 pages, and I was doing that one night. And it felt pretty good. Didn't find too many things that weren't in there, so.
Any other questions then?
Just a quick comment. Thanks to the staff again for stepping up. We know that every year this time that it is intensive work. We know that, and that's why we don't see much of y'all even in the hallways, because your heads are down and into the numbers. I think it's important, again, as Ms. Keys was saying, to note that this is the 7th year that we've done that. Not all community colleges produce a CAFR. I don't think enough of them do, and my colleagues are going to get mad at me for saying that, but this is the way of doing business that presents our information in the most transparent, upfront, here's what we've got kind of way. Anyway, and Bridget, thanks to you and your staff.
And I believe we do need a motion to accept, is that correct? Motion from Gabe to accept.
Second.
Second. Further discussion? Public comments on item number 6. Item number 5. I was trying to get us through the agenda too quick. All in favor of accepting the audit report presented under agenda item 5, please say so by expressing aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Regents, we're going to do one more item before we take a break. Item number 6, I'm going to invite Doug and his group back up here. He will do this, then we will do actual public comments, and then we'll take a break, go into closed session, and we'll come back at the end of the meeting for item number 7.
All right, thank you again.
Doug, you have a sense for about how long this will take?
10 minutes.
Oh, wow, okay, great, perfect.
What we did in the break was we summarized what we heard this morning.
Sure the microphone's on.
I just need to, it's a little low for you, I think.
You might.
We summarized what we heard this morning, what we thought we heard anyway, and that's why we're presenting it back to you today. We summarized the information into a number of campus themes, and we summarized the vision statements or the value statements that we heard you say. So first, let's talk about some campus themes that we think are not right for the Southside campus. Not wanting to make judgment calls on them, but we don't think that it's appropriate to have a strong historical vernacular like the photographs on this slide. We don't think that you want an institutional look like these pictures. We think that excessive formality is not right. And we think that you don't want architectural massing that is heavy or monumental, as these pictures imply. And we relied on the dots and counted dots and summarized what we found. We also don't think that the dominant colors are an appropriate way to proceed. Now, we also heard you say that there are some themes that we think are positive and right for the Southside campus. A transparency, a use of glass and natural light, and bringing the outside in and the inside out. Having very active environments, places for students to be and to do, and combining that with being able to see and be seen. The use of water, and whether or not it is a full-blown lake or pond, as in these pictures, just introducing water into the campus design. Physically bringing the inside and outside together, creating opportunities, as shown in these pictures, where it's not always behind a glass wall. The use of shading devices for two reasons. One, to break up the massing of the building facade, to provide shade on the glazing that brings the inside and outside closer together, and it provides shaded areas for students to be outside. Introducing public art and weaving it into the architecture or the campus open space, as opposed to public art that is more sculptural or static in nature. And some that we don't have pictures for. There was a strong preference for harmony between the landscape and the buildings, and letting the campus and the public space work together. Also a family of buildings that are not necessarily made up of identical twins, but more through a consistency of materials versus buildings that are mirror images of one another. And very definitely to be regionally appropriate. Moving on to the vision statements, you answered the question of how this project would be deemed a huge success, and I'm going to read these to you. All prospective students are encouraged and inspired by enrolling at Del Mar. If it creates spaces that promote, encourage, and support learning in all its forms and different modalities. If it is empowering, inclusive, and inspirational. If it is a place where students want to stay, whether to finish a degree or to study or for research, that makes them feel welcome, comfortable, and want to collaborate. It feels like a home on campus with all the conveniences and comforts. If it facilitates student access and ease of use. If the campus provides a front door and supports wayfinding. If it redefines the Del Mar College experience, what the Del Mar College experience is, and gives students an opportunity to experience college in a different way. That first-time college students are enticed, not intimidated by this campus. Wow, isn't this a cool place? It is an exciting and inspirational campus that continues to attract future generations of students. If it invokes a sense of community, a sense of belonging and ownership of the campus by both the students and the surrounding residents, and I guess the greater community as a whole. And if it, and both form and function tangibly impact student success. So if you remember, these are the instructions to architects. These are pretty lofty goals, but I think you have set the stage that you don't want the architects just to focus on building design. You want to focus on results. And so our request is that you allow us to present this information along with the programming data that we presented this morning at the pre-submittal meeting that will be held next Tuesday.
Doug, if you go back to the phrases, there were 3 or maybe 4 pages of the visions, 1, 2, 3, is that how many? And,
Yes.
yeah, so 3 on that page, next page, 6, next page, 9, next page, 12. So basically, there's 12 sort of vision points, and there's a theme between all those. They're probably not any of them that are necessarily inconsistent with each other. And I think if I were an architectural firm, proposing this, would be good to know that. My question for you and perhaps the rest of the group here is that if in fact how well the ultimate architectural firm design team is chosen is based upon their ability to meet our vision and how they mesh or work with the college team, is this enough information to give them, if not next week, certainly it's a great start for next week, but does it need to be refined more? Do we need to put these statements in order? Do we need to do something more that if ultimately this is what we're going to use is did they meet this? Those 3, 4, 5, or 6 firms that are brought to us for those 2 days worth of interviews, this is what the Regents are going to have. So I'm asking, I guess, you and the others at the table in the Regents, if this is our filter system to choose, do we have enough of what we've done here?
I suggest that the Regents treat this as a cheat sheet, if you will, as you are selecting or interviewing the various architectural teams, so that you have in front of you the things that the group thinks are important. Then once the team is hired and are on board, you should have a workshop with them to refine these, to interpret them, to grill the architects on how are their schematic designs going to achieve these goals. But I would suggest doing that with the architects in the room after they've been hired, as opposed to taking too many more steps ahead of time and presenting it to them. I'd rather it be an interactive process with them.
I definitely understand that once we get a firm hired, there will be a lot more discussion about this, but we said in defining our process that how well they meet our vision is going to be who ultimately of those, I'm just going to, for example, pick 5 firms, if that's who we interview. That's 5, all 5 firms, if it is 5, are going to be highly qualified. We're not going to pick on qualifications at that point. We're going to pick on best fit. do you think we're just going to know it after we interview them? Do we need anything additionally to ask them or get from them in terms of knowing that they can fit our vision? Do we need to refine our vision anymore, I guess?
Well, we're happy to do whatever the group
Scott,
suggests,
could you
but
come up too? Scott Mears?
I would suggest that one of the questions you ask the invited firms to the interview is how do you respond to these vision statements, and how can your firm better meet our needs than your peers?
Is there any sense that we need to narrow down the vision statements or prioritize them? Anyone feel like we need to do that? They're close enough? Okay. And Scott, you're working with us and with August and with our test committee on the process. Any thoughts that you have going forward with this?
Yeah, this is exactly what we were hoping to accomplish with today. I think what you have here gives them plenty of direction and will allow for an engaging interview experience. And I agree completely with Doug about really getting into the granularity of it and challenging whoever is ultimately selected after they've been selected.
And I believe the RFQ and interview process that Scott has set up allows you to develop the short list based purely on qualifications that are submitted. And then once you're in the room together, sort of Katie bar the door, you can ask the questions that you think are going to inform you which team will work best with you.
Envision this, maybe literally this document itself is what's given to them, or is there any refinement to this? Are you planning any additional pictures? You said you didn't have some for some of those bullet points. Would you be fleshing this out a little bit more?
I would like to have a day or two back in the office to make sure it's
Polish it.
exactly what we want to do.
Okay.
Oh, and also the programming data is still a work in progress, and it's being vetted by the college. So that'll be part of what we submit or present on next Tuesday.
And let me sort of ask this in group. First, Regents, are you all comfortable with what you're seeing here? Any concerns about this going out the door next week? Susan, I'm seeing.
Yeah, as long as I'm understanding correctly, that it's not going to some of the details. I'm going back to the square footage on the buildings and things like that. That's still within this vision. Is that how it's being presented to them?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
And remember, the purpose for sharing this information with the architects is to get them, to give them an understanding of what is in your mind's eye. And while you are going through the selection process and the contracting process, we are continuing to refine the program of requirements for each building so that you're running parallel paths. We're just trying to give the architects as much advance information to help them.
Maybe as much what we're telling, what we are ourselves. I don't want to feel some other architect could say you were misguided on that. So you feel like we've given ourselves some range for whoever we do hire to respond to more of the vision than the specifics.
I think so.
Okay.
And perhaps by listing them as vision statements versus those other items that you showed us in the breakout session this morning that got down to specifics like 55% of, that I would sense would be locked into, whereas this is more broad, which people could respond to.
Yes.
And my concern is that I think we have given them enough that, it's like being a composer. You hate to exactly tell the composer how to do it. However, do you want a fast song or a slow song? You want a love song or a bolero? We need to be sure that they understand and they see our vision rather than their vision, and then we have to go with it.
That's 100% correct.
I think if I was a firm looking at this information, just knowing that the Board of Regents came together and went through this exercise and produced this, that's different than anything we've ever done. And I think that is going to make a bold statement. I believe I'd be paying real close attention to this because the effort has been made and formalized. That is I think, a high standard of doing business, so it's just my opinion.
I want to ask you, you said once we select a firm, we should have a workshop. Would that workshop be something similar to what we did this morning, or would that be starting too far back?
I think well, I think it should build on what happened this morning. I wouldn't go
from there.
backwards. But I would peel the onion, and at that time, the architect is going to be prepared to start designing and shaping the ground plan and the three-dimensional shape of the buildings. And so it's time then to get specific about, or more specific about your likes and don't likes. We're just trying to frame the issues clearly for them. And, we've separated the red and the green today. At the next workshop, it's time to, I really like this on this campus, and I really like this or don't like this.
But today, I really like this vision because it is our vision, number one. Number two, if you look at the different bullets, they all have keywords that I'm thinking could be applied anywhere, like a sense of belonging. I think that can go with any other bullet that we have. Inspirational, I saw it like 3 or 4 times, so I really feel comfortable with this vision that we have here.
Certainly welcome comments from others. Oh, sorry. Yes, Guy, please.
I respect what Susan is saying, but the thing that concerns me was the discussion this morning about the main building having the culinary arts dominating one of those floors. And I respected your original plan over by the lake. That really carries your imagination. But you forced me to abstain as long as the culinary arts is in your proposals as far as the main building.
It's not, Guy.
The recommendation was to give to put the Culinary Institute in its own standalone building and not embed it in the main building. It was originally thought that it belonged in the main building, but we're recommending that it move to its own building.
And we need to figure that out, correct? I don't know how that's going to be done, but.
I'm sorry, I wasn't clear about that earlier. When the master plan was, or evolved to include 3 buildings and the Culinary Institute, the logic was, let's put culinary in the main building. And that was how it laid dormant for a while. When the programming began in earnest, we revisited that and said, it really makes sense to put culinary in a separate standalone building and not embed it in the main building.
There was one page where you compared the prior decision to have it. Do we know where that is?
Can we find that again?
Page 22 of the PDF from this morning. After all that,
Bear
Brad.
with me, I'll get to it.
So flip book. Right there.
The column of information on the left-hand,
Push the mic. He can't hear you.
sorry, the column information on the left-hand side was how it was presented to us at the very beginning of programming, that the conventional wisdom put the Culinary Institute into the main building. Then there was a STEM building and a general academic building. We recommended the column on the right that kept the main building just as the administrative and student services, library building, letting the STEM building be general academics and STEM, and letting the third building be the Culinary Institute and the large meeting room.
What's it doing? I see, okay.
I'd like to open it up to feedback and thoughts from the rest of the folks, the quiet ends of the room who've not said much. Anything else? Are y'all feeling okay about this? Ultimately, after the board is gone, you are the ones going to live with this, so. Like that famous relationship saying says, speak now or forever hold your peace. Nonverbals are okay, nods, okay.
Just one comment, when you present, I mean, I loved what you did with the visuals and say these are concepts. I'm assuming that what you'll make sure it happen is, these are the concepts we don't like, and these are the concepts we do, because in the presentation, obviously, it wasn't, verbally it was intimated, but it wasn't visually explained, so yeah. What? Little too subtle. I want it out there like, don't do this. Yeah.
I will make sure we are more, not so subtle.
Yes, thank you.
For Regents, what Doug has asked us for is basically, he's calling it permission to use this document as they refine it to go forward with the pre-proposal next week. I think it would be good for us to actually take a vote on it, so we've got a statement of saying we're behind this vision, knowing that it's going to be refined some. We're approving it being used, and that we're moving forward the process of our vision.
So move. Oh.
We have several motions. I think that's a good sign. I think, well, how about, who went first? Did someone?
Me.
Susan, then Sandra. Okay, how about that? Any further discussion by Regents? Any public comment? All in favor? Let's do a roll call vote just to be safe on this. Yes.
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much to the Regents, to those who participated in the room. Thank you, Doug, for your leadership and your team who was here. And we're moving forward. This is great. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
We're going to do public comments, and then we're going to break while we go into closed session. So let's see, public comments. It's posted on our agenda, our guidelines for public comments. First up is Mr. Gordy. Mr. Gordy, if you'd like to come to the podium.
Yes. My name is Jack Gordy, and I live at 4118 Bray Drive. And the reason I'm here is Del Mar College is continually, and I'll keep saying that word, wasting our tax dollars. Last Thursday, when Del Mar went to court to appeal Bruce Olson's ruling by the jury, for some unknown reason, there was, no, not a reason, excuse, and that's all it was, an excuse. They hired a lawyer from Austin to come down here and go to the appeals court. Now, why couldn't that attorney that's on the payroll and a city employee, why couldn't he go down there to court and appeal it? If he can't do something that simple, you need to find another lawyer for Del Mar, because he's not doing his job. It's so simple. But it's probably going to cost the taxpayers about $8,000 because he couldn't do something simple. There was no reason to bring somebody down here from Austin. Like I said, this Board of Regents continually waste the taxpayers' money. It's not ever, you might say it's every day because it continues. So I wish it would stop, and come time for the election, 3 of you can be looking for another job, because we're going to do everything we can to make sure you don't get elected.
Thank you, Mr. Gordy. Next up is Jim Klein. Jim, are you still here? Is he still here? He had signed in earlier. Is he outside? I guess not. Okay. Anyone else who would like to address the board in public comment? Okay, if you will stay seated for just a minute, I need to read a fairly lengthy closed session language, and then we will, okay, so we're not going to do that. So I'm going to read items A through D, and then as we'll take a break as we're clearing the room and getting ready for closed session. We're going to go into closed session pursuant to Texas Government Code 551.071, consultation with legal counsel regarding pending or contemplated litigation or claims, including cause number 2012-CCV-61123-2, Bruce Olson versus Del Mar College, and other pending legal matters, or settlement offer, and the seeking legal advice from counsel on pending or contemplated legal matters or claims. Under the provisions of B, Texas Government Code 552.139A and B, government information related to security or infrastructure issues for computers regarding information related to computer network security, to restricted information under Section 2059.055 or to the design, operation, and defense of a computer network and information deemed confidential under Section 552.139B1 and 2, with possible discussion and action in open session. Item C, Texas Government Code 551.072, real property deliberation regarding the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property. And D, Texas Government Code 551.074A1, personnel matters regarding employment, evaluation, reassignment, discipline duties, or dismissal of a public officer or employee, including personnel update, review of Regents' duties, responsibilities, and statement of ethics, and potential board action for violation of Regents' duties and responsibilities with discussion and action and open session. So we'll go into closed session at 3:36 p.m. and take about a 10-minute break while we ready the room. Thank you. We are going back into open session at 4:53 p.m. Do we have any motion or business from closed session?
Chair, I have a motion. You ready for that? At our last board meeting, the board voted to instruct our legal counsel to prepare a letter addressed to Regent Guy Watts dealing with the legal and ethical issues relating to his emails. I move that we approve the sending and execution of the following letter, if I may read. Addressed to Dear Regent Watts, at last month's meeting, we, the Board of Regents of the Del Mar College District, collectively voted to prepare this letter to you to address our serious concerns with numerous emails you sent to the rest of the board, as well as other individuals, between November 6th and 11th, 2017. The specific emails are attached to this letter. We have two main concerns. One, your continued and deliberate practice of sending emails discussing college business to more than a quorum of the board outside of a posted meeting. And two, your unilateral decision to publicly discuss a pending legal matter involving the college without authorization by the board. First, as you and the rest of the board have been previously advised numerous times, sending an email to more than a quorum of the board about college business could potentially constitute an illegal meeting in violation of the Texas Open Meetings Act. In the past, you have also been specifically encouraged to confer with the college's general counsel if you have any questions or need further clarification. But instead, you continue to engage in this legally risky email practice, as evidenced from the latest attached email you sent to the board yesterday evening. We do not agree with that, with you, that this is a free speech matter. Instead, this is a matter of following the law, as well as our duly appointed board bylaws on the appropriate time, place, and manner for us to deliberate as a board. We all have the right to meet as a board and to freely express and debate our opinions on matters affecting the college, so long as it is in a properly noticed meeting in public that complies with the law. Your practice of emailing all of us about college business outside of that process, however, undermines the public's right to know and puts you and the college at risk of violating the Texas Open Meeting Act. Second, your emails would indicate that you engage in a public discussion about a pending lawsuit against the college and then attempted to provoke an online discussion about the lawsuit. As you know, we regularly meet in closed session with legal counsel to discuss pending legal and confidential matters. Publicly speaking about such matter risk waiving legal privileges, jeopardizing the college's position in the lawsuit, and causing confusion among the public about the college's stance on a given legal matter. We therefore send this letter to you to formally confirm in writing that the board neither condones nor agrees with your email practices or your public, unauthorized discussion of pending lawsuits against the college. On behalf of the college, we direct you to stop sending emails to more than a quorum of the Board of Regents about college business. And we likewise request that you refrain from publicly discussing pending lawsuits involving the college without authorization by the board. Respectfully, and then signatures by the 8 board regents.
Regents, we have a motion for the letter on the table. Do we have a second?
Second.
A second from, is that Ms. Sandra Messmark? Great, thank you. Any further discussion by Regents on the letter? Any public comment? Hearing none, if we could take a roll call vote, please, Delia? Yes.
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 Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Regents. Next on our agenda is calendaring, and there is a calendar, I think, at your desk. It is the holidays, and there'll be a chance to celebrate the holidays on Thursday, the 14th, at the season celebration at 10 a.m. that will be on the West Campus in the Emerging Technologies Building, room 124. Friday evening is fall graduation at 7, and I think we need to be there by 6:30 to robe up for that. Winter break for the college starts on the 20th, although it feels like after the snow last week, we've already had winter. So our January board meeting is set for Tuesday, the 15th. We're still working on agenda. We don't know yet whether we'll have what we'll be having, so just kind of hold that day open at this point. Our February board meeting is the 13th. That does overlay ACCT National Legislative Summit. We're not sure yet if there'll be anyone attending that. March board day is on the 6th. Spring break on the 12th, and then I believe Delia is working with you for those that want to attend the ACCT Government Leadership Institute that's on the 21st of March in San Antonio. Are there any other items of calendaring? 10 to...
Didn't change, 10:05.
10 to 11:30, ET 124. No, we had to move it. There was a couple things going on, but that's the right location for it.
We're not under the dome anymore. Great. With that, we are adjourned at 4:58 p.m. Thank you, Regents.